Edgar Allan Poe is one of America's most influential writers. He was born on January 19, 1809 in the city of Boston, and he died on October 7, 1849 in the city of Baltimore.
In Philadelphia, Poe, I think, sharpened his talents, where some of the best-known short stories come out in this period.
In Philadelphia, Edgar Allan Poe achieved some of his greatest successes. The Fall of the House of Usher, The Murders in the Rue Morgue, The Mask of the Red Death, The Pit and the Pendulum, The Telltale Heart, The Black Cat and the Gold Bug are all stories that were published while Poe lived here in the city of Philadelphia. As you go through the actual historic house that Poe lived in, the home is empty today. Only the empty rooms remain.
But I think our people here are gratified that there's something tangible about Poe, that they're actually entering a house that he lived in, even though it's a shell. It's something that connects them directly with the person, which they had never done outside the stories.
The Park Service, really not knowing how the home was furnished or what it looked like on the interior, we made the decision that we would leave the home empty. So we did strip down the walls, exposing the original plaster. As you walk through the home, you'll be walking on original floorboards. But again, the house is empty. So many people really feel that the house kind of evokes Poe's spirit as you're walking through the empty rooms.
And it seems to be spooky to them, which is completely unintentional.
One of the most exciting rooms here at the Edgar Allan Poe National Historic Site is the original cellar of the home. We could really make a great connection with the cellar and one of Poe's tales of terror.
The Black Cat was definitely published while the family was living in the house, and the cellar looked very much like what he was describing in the Black Cat.
The cellar that is described in the story, in particular the false chimney, where the woman's corpse is bricked up, is eerily reminiscent of the cellar and the false chimney in this home right here. So that's one of the rooms where we can really make a connection. The Raven is really Poe's probably most famous work today. It was definitely his most successful poem. It was published in January of 1845 while Poe was living in New York City. It was really the poem that put him on the map as a poet.
Something he always wanted to be remembered for as a poet. Didn't net money, and that's the cruelty of this whole thing in Poe's day, is that he could have the fame without having the fortune.
Edgar Allan Poe, of course, wrote horror tales, but he also did many other things over the course of his career. He invented the detective story here in Philadelphia in 1841 with the publication of his tale, The Murders in the Rue Morgue.
Maybe his best-known works are what we would today call horror, and he would call Gothic romance, but he's the pioneer of science fiction, as we now know it today. He's an adventure storyteller.
He also wrote some beautiful romantic poetry. But really what he did the most of over the course of his career, the largest portion of his body of work, is his literary criticism. The
mainstream image of Poe is something that we've tried to correct for the longest time, and you have to divide Poe in two ways. The historical Poe, which may not be as fanciful as the Poe of legend. The Poe of legend has captured the imagination of a lot of people, especially if they're just cursory readers of Poe. They think of him as a drug-addled madman who writes these off-the-wall stories.
And it really might not be the case. We know that Poe did have some pretty serious problems with alcohol, but the drug use is really kind of a myth. We can't say for sure whether he suffered from any type of mental illness because no one actually diagnosed him at the time.
When we tell them it's not exactly the vision, they seem to be disappointed. But it draws them there. And so we see this Poe persona that's bigger than life.
People visit Poe's home today because they know Edgar Allan Poe. They've read his works, and in many ways he really is America's most influential author.
To have a site, he is something much more than just a writer. He's a figure of the imagination, and that's the enduring legacy of Poe.